Hey guys, it's Dan from JG Strength. Today we're going to look at the Rogue Fitness Monster Light Mono Hooks. Interesting product. First thought about looking at these after I did a couple of powerlifting meets where I'm actually squatting out of a monolift and realized it's kind of nice to not walk out your squats. So they came out with these and I thought I'd give them a try because $300 is way cheaper than a $4,000 monolift. All right, so now that we got the squat height right, we can squat. Now, one of the things that's nice about these is they're gonna swing back. You don't have to walk out, but if you are someone who is a low bar squatter to the point where you hinge forward quite a bit, it's still gonna feel very different from a monolift when basically the whole rack moves out of your way in your free space. You're gonna feel like you're gonna hit things on the way up, and if you lean forward a little too much, you might clip those on the way up as well. So here's what that looks like. You can walk around as you go. So if I don't step out at all, it does have clearance, but if I come up here, it gets real close and you could easily hit your sleeves on it. If you're a higher bar squatter or you stay more vertical, not an issue, but if you hinge at all, if you good morning your squats at all, you may run into that, at which point you'll just have to step it out anyway, so there's no point to even have them. All right, so another thing that's kind of irksome about these are they are super heavy. They're like 35 pounds a piece or something like that. And I'm used to putting normal J-hooks in, which would be here, right? So that's gonna be about right for my squat height. But on these, they're so much taller that now my bar head's gonna be all the way down here. So you're gonna mess up putting it in, then you're gonna have to pull it out, readjust it, which isn't a huge deal, but it's just another little nuisance that you have to deal with these things.
Yeah.
That's another fucking thing. So a bench is kind of nice because you don't have to worry about a lift off, you don't have to worry about pulling it out in front of you. But the one thing that you are going to feel is if your bench isn't long enough, you might feel like your hips are getting off the bench. So that's kind of the one thing I don't really love about them for bench press. Okay. Last thing we're gonna do on here is overhead press, which is definitely not what they're made for, but I do a lot of overhead press. And if you train strongman, you do a lot of overhead press too. And it's just, the whole point of it is to not have to move after you pick up the bar, but these are gonna be in the way. So you have to walk it out. Not only do you have to walk it out, but you'll have to walk it out like 3 feet further than normal. So normally I walk out to like here, but I'm into the hooks by then. So you're gonna walk out even further before you start your presses. All right, so final thoughts on these. Like, I want to love them because I think the concept is super cool. Lots of companies are putting them out. They're all in that $200 to $300 price point. They're heavy. They're so heavy. I know I look super strong, so it looks light, but this is heavy. Manipulating them and moving them, since they're bigger and longer than normal J-cups, take some trial and error. If you have these, you're definitely gonna wanna mark spots on your rack where they go. If you have these in like a more commercial gym or powerlifting gym setting, and they don't want you putting tape on their rigs and things, it's just gonna be a little pain in the ass. You'll bonk your head on this thing all the time. It's okay for squatting as long as you have a very vertical torso and you don't really screw up very often and you're not good morning your squats. For bench, I will say on bench press, I'm putting this down. On bench press, it is super nice, especially if you're someone who benches heavy and you really need that lift off to save your shoulders. They're great. But I would either have a standalone bench that you slide into a rack so you can make sure it's long enough, or if you have a fixed bench, just make sure it's long enough for your body. If you have a longer torso, it's gonna be a little annoying. And then overhead press is just pointless on this thing. Now, Rogue did come out with a new one. that's more compact. They're lighter. The flags don't stick out as far, so there's less chance of whacking your head. But this one specifically, I'm probably gonna sell them because though it's a cool concept and a cool item, it just, every time I feel like using them, there's always that thought in my head that's like, ugh, do I really want to deal with this before I get to start my workout? And the answer is almost always no. So I wouldn't recommend them unless you really, really want a pair. Hope that helps, and subscribe and we'll do more reviews.